Hey guys, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. This is the Dean back with our professor extraordinaire, Chet Yoder. How you doing, Chet?
I'm feeling a little naked without my hat. I had a
I
couple of
see
meetings
that.
today.
Yeah.
I look a little sophisticated. I don't know if my answers are going to be sophisticated as talking about fantasy football, but I shall try my best on this Friday evening.
Well, look, it is a phenomenal Friday. That's what this tag is going to be. It's going to be a phenomenal Friday on Fantasy Football Academy 2020, and we're breaking out the guns. We had to go sleeveless for this episode. I got the hat on the front of the hat. I don't know if y'all can see it or not.
Hey,
Let
you
the
look like you
battle
came back from the gym.
Yeah, hey, let the battle begin. We're pumped up for this fantasy football season. You should be pumped up because your boy George Kittle has been signed. The man's been paid. They backed up the Brinks truck. You heard the beep beep all the way from San Fran. I'm sure. Like what was it? 5 years, $75 million.
Mm.
I mean, highest paid tight end in the history of the NFL.
It's a steal. Like if you look at it from, I guess you can say, a perspective of longevity, this is a good deal. It's 15 mil per year. There's some guaranteed money. I think both parties were very excited about this deal. But did you notice when that deal got done, how many minutes it went to Travis Kelce's
Oh,
name? That was pretty quickly
yeah.
because we'd have to expect Kelsey to get more money than Kittle
Yeah.
just on sex appeal. And I'm saying that I'm just being brutally honest with you. If you look at Kelsey and Kittle, Kelsey is still number one, even though the numbers weren't there. Maybe Kittle's numbers were a little better last year. Kelsey's still the beast, and I think the beast from Kansas City is going to get his pay.
Well, look, Kelsey got what, 57 million, if I'm not mistaken. I know Kittle got half of his money guaranteed, so he's got half that 75 mil. So then you got Kelsey coming in. Now, here's the thing, though. Kelsey's 30 years old.
Right.
So he really doesn't have a whole lot of years. He's been 4 years on top.
You
Okay.
hate that age of 30.
Right in the middle. Like he could have 3 good years left and then he just fall off a cliff.
Yeah. I cried when I turned 30, and a lot of athletes cry when they turn 30 because they know it's when it starts to decline. Unless, I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but when you're talking about a tight end, you're right. That window is 3 to 4 years for him. But, I mean, he did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, he is
Well,
coming off,
he
obviously, that high.
right.
So he has fulfilled his quota. Now what is the next step? Kittle, obviously, in his 20s, still has a longer career and obviously more prospects. I thought both deals were great. I'm just saying, I thought when Kittle got his, I thought Kelsey was going to get his higher, and I was a little surprised.
I think Kelsey understands his position and where he's at and the team that he's on. I mean, look at San Fran. San Fran does not have the weaponry that KC does. And
No.
in order to keep that intact, you gotta pay people.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about the big sexy, names. We're not talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to be on his rookie deal for the next 3-4 years.
Right.
And then the $500 million man just got paid. And then you've got Sammy Watkins, who he came out and said, I could have gotten a better situation somewhere else, but I'll take less money to be on a championship team. And you got Tyreek Hill. I mean, these guys are stacked top to bottom across the board on offense. And then you flip over to defense. I mean, they got, if I'm not mistaken, Tyrann Mathieu is with KC. I mean, you're going to have to pay him a little something eventually.
Honey Badger.
Yeah, the Honey Badger. I mean, you're going to have to pay him a little something. You're going to have to pay this defense because, I mean, let's face it, the only reason that they have to put up so many points is because the defense is porous. So, I mean, there's holes in that defense that forces this offense to be as dynamic as it is and barely win some games. I mean, it's just I think Kelsey understands that the money's got to be spread out in order to win championships. I mean, everybody's kind of taking a page out of Tom Brady's playbook How many?
But on the flip side, Kelsey got his Super Bowl, so I thought he would have been inclined to say, "Okay, look, pay me my money. What you know what I mean? You know what I mean? How
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I don't.
it is there is that other side of it.
Yeah,
But you're right. I mean,
I see him as that kind of player, as a Tom Brady esque.
if he is like that, great, all to him.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, trust me. Hey, we said the last episode that we did together, don't play with my money, So I got nothing against players going out and getting paid, but I don't want to hear them whine about being on a losing team when the team can't afford to put anybody around them.
Right.
So,
We've seen so many bad cases.
it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Hey, listen, one thing I wanted to talk about before we get into today's topic, which is bounce back and repeaters. We're talking about guys who we think are going to bounce back from a bad year, and then guys we think can repeat the top 12 performance that they kicked out in 2019. So some of these guys that I'm going to be bringing up had off years because of either injury or they just had an absolutely horrible performance year. But one thing I wanted to touch on, there was an article on ESPN talking about coaches being the most at risk during this COVID season because there's not a coaches union. They basically have to take it upon themselves to put themselves in danger of catching COVID. And Anthony Lynn on Hard Knocks came out and told players, look, I've got it. You're probably going to get it. And it's something that we got to live with now. He's just being brutally honest. And I love that about him, that he came out and said that. And I mean, a lot of these coaches, I mean, you look at guys like Bruce Arians in Tampa, he's getting up there in age, and we all know that that's one of the danger zones of COVID is, he's already got underlying health issues, and you've got the age played in there too. So
you're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, both of those play a factor. So
yeah, I mean, it's just I think that we need to give coaches some love. I mean, come on, guys. Coaches get a lot of blame for a lot of bad play. Now I'm not putting Jason Garrett in that because Jason Garrett was there for so long.
Some coaches deserve the love. There are some they're just absolutely idiotic. But
exactly.
You're right.
Exactly. I mean, we
had one in Washington.
We don't need to look too far. I mean, the one that was in Washington is now with Tennessee, being the offensive coordinator. So, but
how did Jay Gruden get that job? Did he get it just because of his name? I think that's the only thing I'm thinking.
That's the only reason he got the Washington job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did he only get that Washington job because of his name?
Yeah, he only got the Washington job because of his name. Because I will tell you right now, as a Redskin fan, being through the spending spree that Dan Snyder, which by the way is an award in our fantasy league, we have a Dan Snyder award. It's for the team who has the most trades that gets the littlest out of it. So if you get the least amount out of your trade and you have the most in the league, you get the Dan Snyder award because Dan Snyder has made trades and acquisitions like he's playing fantasy football for real. And it's driving Washington fans nuts for decades.
You sound like you've had some medical issues, some just going through all this.
When they brought back Joe Gibbs,
what was that all about? Was that just a comeback trail?
That was Dan Snyder going, man, that would be awesome to have Joe back in Washington. Look at what he did before.
What was he, like 95 years old?
He's been in NASCAR for how long? So come on, let's get real here, people. I mean, and then he signed Albert Hainsworth after all that mess that happened up in New England with him.
Yeah.
I mean, and not only that, but we signed Deion Sanders after he left San Fran, after he left Atlanta, after he left Dallas.
Yeah.
Then he went to Washington. We got forget sloppy seconds. We got like the bare bones leftovers of what was Deion Sanders.
Now, hindsight 2020, when they gave up their whole draft to get RG3, when they gave their future for RG3, and that first year he put up, were you okay with it if he never got injured?
My whole take on that situation, at halftime, We were up. He was dinged up.
Well, that's when he got dinged. The game he got
Dinged up in the playoff game against
Right.
Seattle.
Right.
Okay. He was hurt in that game. Rather than going, hey, Kirk, step in, because we already knew that Kirk Cousins could step in because he'd done it for him before earlier in the season. Kirk Cousins could have stepped in and could have kept that lead, and we could have at least made it to the NFC Championship game. Okay. If he had been pulled out then the whole thing about Shanahan leaving, both Shanahans, Mike and Kyle, them leaving would have never have come up. But because RG3 was Dan Snyder's pick and not Mike Shanahan's, because Mike Shanahan wanted Kirk Cousins. He was told to play RG3 because that was the number 2 pick. We had the number 2 pick that year.
Political move.
Yeah, behind Andrew Luck. Okay, and we see how both of those stories have worked out. Okay, but if he had been pulled out of that game at halftime and been told, hey, we got this, save yourself for next year, we're building something here. If he had been told that, I'm telling you right now, RG3 would still be in Washington instead of up the street backing up Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. And Kirk Cousins would have never seen the light of day.
A lot of what ifs.
I know. And trust me, as a Skins fan, it drives me nuts. But like I said, hindsight 2020, and 2020 being the year that they retired the Redskins moniker. And we're about to see what it's going to be for 2021.
So when they drafted him, were you excited when they drafted him?
Oh, I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
I loved it.
You got the dude. You got the dude from Baylor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was electric. He was a smart guy.
He is smart.
He was absolutely dynamic.
Yeah.
And he had all of the abilities, all the intangibles. He had the work ethic. He had, I mean, the guy graduated early from Baylor.
Yeah.
Okay. He has military.
I'm not trying to be racial here, but it's big being a black quarterback too. I mean, a black successful quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and think about the team he went to. This is the first organization to have a black quarterback win the Super Bowl with Doug Williams.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, I mean, he was in a perfect spot.
Anyways, we digress.
So, we got a little sidetracked there, but for a good reason.
For you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if you guys look, you get down to the bottom, if you subscribe, like, and share, and you want to really get me going, do what Chet just did and just bring up anything about the Redskins history.
If you ask me, and I'm sure your wife can ask me this, what would have happened if the Niners drafted Aaron Rodgers? Do not even get me started. Like there has to be a new show on how stupid Mike Nolan and that organization is. And you know Mike Nolan, how stupid we were for not drafting Aaron Rodgers, because it was an automatic pick in our own backyard. In our own backyard, played a cow.
Yep.
And we had to get that little punk from Utah, who actually, I do love that little punk from Utah, but, you know, it obviously was a no-brainer.
Yeah. So we've exchanged tangents here, guys, so bear with us. But back to 2020 fantasy football. Here we go. We're about to jump in, and I want to take a second. I want to thank our sponsor of the show, Keller's Bakery of Youngsville. You can find them at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, on the Youngsville Highway. Guys, I'm telling you, go check out their donuts. They make king cake year round. If you don't know what king cake is, if you're outside of Louisiana and you don't know what king cake is, you are missing out. Look, I was raised in Maryland. I came down here 20 years ago. Okay, 1999. I moved down to Louisiana. I didn't know what king cake was. I can't believe I've lived that long without king cake. Okay, it is phenomenal, especially from Keller's. They have some absolutely fabulous stuff. I'm trying to get some for the draft. So when we're drafting, we can tank up on sweets and drinks and whatever else we can get out of there, okay? Because Zia's is sponsoring the show, or sponsoring the draft. So, but Keller's, they got lemon, coconut, and chocolate meringue pies. Go down there. They're awesome. And if you mention that the Dean sent you, you get 2 free cookies. Guys, it's a sweet deal.
I'm
Go
making
in
my
there,
trip down there.
look, go in there, tell them the dean sent you, get you 2 free cookies, and while you're at it, go ahead and pick up a dozen donuts while you're there, okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. You can't beat it. You can find them, like I said, at 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. You can call them at 337-856-4449, or you can find them on Facebook on Keller's Bakery of Youngsville. If you want to order, they do accept direct message orders through Facebook. All right, guys. So thank you for Keller's Bakery for that sweet deal for all my subscribers, all my listeners. Let's get into it, Professor. Top 12, I'm going to read this list off. Top 12 QBs from 2019. This is how they finished. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes at 8, Carson Wentz at 9, Aaron Rodgers at 10, even though he had an off year, still finished at 10. Number 11, Matt Ryan. Number 12, Tom Brady. Tom Brady finished 12 last year, okay, guys? Now, the range from number 1 at 421 points for your fantasy to 271 to number 12. That's the range that you're looking at from a number 1 quarterback to a number 12 quarterback, okay, guys? Now, the top 4, 3 of them, I will tell you right now, and I don't think that the professor is going to disagree with me on this one. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Jameis Winston, and Russell Wilson, all those guys will still be there, minus Winston, because he's a backup role now.
Right.
Okay? So we got one guy already off the board. Now, who pops out to you as not being able to live up to that top 12 list?
Go through the rest of the names again.
Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes, Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and Tom Brady.
You know who I think is going to have a tough year is Carson Wentz. I really do. I think. Well, okay. I mean,
have you seen it? Have you seen how
I can say Josh Allen. I can make a case for Josh Allen too. Huh? What'd you say?
I said, have you seen how jacked up Carson Wentz is? This man ain't been doing nothing but lifting weights through quarantine.
I ain't saying he ain't putting his work in. I just don't think they have the cast there in Philadelphia. I can make the case for Josh Allen, but I think Carson Wentz might have one of those step back years. And I think we were talking about this maybe 2 shows ago or so, and we're kind of previewing the Eagles. That one guy probably sticks out for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna throw out. I got 4 guys that I think are off of this list.
Wow, you got 4. I had to pick 1.
4. I got 4 guys that I think are going to be off this list. Now, obviously, Jameis Winston is not making a top 12.
Okay, sure.
Okay, that's obvious.
We know his role.
The other 3 guys are starting quarterbacks.
Let's see.
Deshaun Watson. I think,
right, you didn't like him, and you don't like the situation.
I think he does not make top 12. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a good quarterback, that he's not going to be streamable, because there are going to be matchups where if he's getting a bad defense, if they're clicking.
Okay. You know who you're talking about when you say streamable. My boy, Jimmy G. He is streamable.
Look, we said it on this show before that Jimmy G, week 1, is streamable. Okay, he is.
He could be the greatest pickup in fantasy football because he'll be there, and you can pick your matchups. But you're right, that's a good pick, though.
Yeah. Josh Allen.
No, I told you about Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen I don't think is making the top 12.
No.
Okay, he had 9 rushing touchdowns last year. Okay, 9. There's no way that's going to happen when you go out and you draft Zach Moss sitting behind Devin Singletary and you bring in Stephon Diggs pretty much for your future right there.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not that accurate. He's not going to be able to hit Diggs on the deep ball like Kirk Cousins did in Minnesota. Okay. And there's too much draft capital in between what they paid for Diggs and Zach Moss that they're not going to let him run. They're not going to want him to run. So he's that 9, you might as well chop that probably down to 4. And like I said, the rushing yards and the dependency on the rushing touchdowns is what got him on this list last year. Okay, so don't be fooled. And I want to take a second. I want to point out to you guys, when we're running down these lists and when you're listening to other shows and you're getting the magazine and you're reading online, articles about all these guys, remember, all of these experts are laying all of this out for you and they're taking it from an industry standpoint. They're thinking about what they would do in the situation if they're in a league. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Their league has absolutely no comparison to your home league that you're going to be drafting in, because the guys that you're drafting with is your neighbor Jimmy down the street who is working 40, 45 hours a week and doesn't have time to dive in like this. So he's going off all the big names. What we're giving you here at the Academy is the nuggets of information, like Kevin Stefanski now moving to Cleveland, who's a run-first guy, and all these other analysts are out there going, yeah, they're going to use Kareem Hunt, and Odell's going to have a bounce back, and Jarvis Landry he might be dinged up, but he's going to come back and he outperformed. I don't care. Nick Chubb is what Kevin Stefanski wants to see.
Right.
He's what made Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. So guys, listen to the dean, listen to the professor. We're average dudes like you. We're not getting paid to do this yet. And we're teaching you about the environment. And remember this, if you remember nothing else. Environment creates the stats, not the other way around. Stats have absolutely nothing to do. Okay? You got to have the right environment in order to have those killer stats. You ain't got the right environment. I don't care what your stats were last year. They're not going to be the same this year.
That's what makes football different than most sports. So I play fantasy baseball. I played fantasy basketball. I played fantasy hockey, right? So hockey, you do need the environment. Baseball, you can be on the lousiest team and still be putting up numbers. Guys like Mike Trout, who's been rotting in for the Angels. Basketball, you need a system. So, but football is one of those really cohesive units. You need to know who the coaches are. You need where they're putting them at. You know who they're playing, like you just said.
Yeah. So guys, remember, environment equals stats. You don't have the right environment, you're not going to have the stats. And I'm bringing this up to bring up my number 4 quarterback off the top 12. This is a guy who barely made it on the top 12. I'm talking about Tom the GOAT Brady.
You just hate Brady.
Okay. I'm looking at the environment. And, yeah, I don't care for Brady because I was like everyone else outside of New England, got tired of seeing him in the Super Bowl and in the playoffs year after year after year. And I will tell you right now, if Tom Brady was in any other division other than the AFC East, playing the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins twice a year for 20 years, he would not have 6 Super Bowl rings. Okay? Because he wouldn't have made it out of the AFC with the Browns and the Browns and the Steelers and the Ravens. I'm not going to say the Bengals. Well, actually, the Bengals are the Browns. But if he had to go up against the Baltimore defense twice a year, forget about it. And the Steelers defense twice a year, forget about it. You put him on the Browns, he would be exactly what his former head coach was, Bill Belichick, when he was in Cleveland. Absolutely nothing.
It's funny how nobody really remembers that. Bill Belichick in Cleveland.
So
it's not his identity.
So look, Jameis Winston, because his environment changed, he's a backup. Deshaun Watson, his environment changed, he lost his top receiver. Josh Allen, his environment has changed because of the weapons that they're trying to add. Tom Brady's environment has changed because he's on a whole new team, and that man's 43 years old. When it happens, when that fall off happens, it happens quick. So, here's the next question: who's on the list? Is there anybody? Chet, you mentioned Carson Wentz, and I actually have Carson Wentz still possibly making this list.
Okay.
So, who would you have that I haven't named that you would see making this list again?
Oh boy. Well, I'd love for Jimmy G to. Here's what I'm saying. Jared Goff. Jared Goff could come back
And
make that.
I want to hold you up real quick because Jared Goff and Jimmy G finished 13 and 14 on this list.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm naming two guys who could crack that list. Those two guys, I love that you mentioned that, are very capable of kicking that and making that list. Because if you look at Jimmy G, I know he doesn't have those big games. Every once in a while, he throws 2-3 touchdowns. He'll throw for over 300 yards. But he is a steady Eddie back there, so to speak. I mean, he is a guy that's not going to have a horrific game. So I think he can have a good game. And remember, this is year 2, full season under Kyle Shanahan, a guy that, Kyle Shanahan obviously invested in with him. So I think those two could really mesh and have a bigger year. And I'm not trying to be a homer here, because if you look at what Kyle Shanahan has built now in San Francisco, he did it basically, did it in that 3-year span, took him to the Super Bowl. How can he not get – he has to get better. So I'm thinking those two off the top of my head.
Okay. Here's my 4 guys to replace the 4 guys I took off.
Okay.
We'll start with my boy, Kirk Cousins, Captain Kirk. The defense has been downgraded in Minnesota. Okay? They've lost several pieces of their defense that once made them great. So they didn't need to throw the ball as much. They didn't need him to perform at the level that they needed him to perform at. Okay? And he finished 18th on this list. Okay? Now, 18th on this list is only 21 points away from Tom Brady. Add in Justin Jefferson. You already know that you got a backup in Alexander Madison and running back that can go ahead and take the load over if Dalvin Cook goes down. You've got Dalvin Cook. You still got Adam Thielen. So you still have the weapons there. And Gary Kubiak is still calling the plays. He was just being helped by Stefanski last year. Him and Stefanski were basically co-offensive coordinators. Now it's straight Coobs in Minnesota. They know what they have. They're going to be throwing the ball more. I mean, they were like almost dead, if not dead last. They were almost dead last in attempts last year for him throwing the ball. And we all know that Kirk Cousins is probably the most accurate quarterback in the league right now. So
not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick. I think things are pretty consistent now in Minnesota.
So we're going to go with a guy who I'm beating the drum, standing on the table, yelling and screaming about for people to listen. Matthew Stafford. Guys, I ran the numbers on this. You guys know I hate stats. That's a whole thing of this. But I went back and I ran the numbers. If he had played all 16 games last year, which he's done most of his career, okay, he has 16, 15, 16. Then last year he had 8. Okay, he got hurt. He got knocked out. He's got Kenny Galladay. He's got Marvin Jones. They just drafted a phenomenal rookie running back, okay? So they've got Swift. Okay.
Here's my problem, though, and I don't mean to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
Stafford is one of those guys you look at as an elite quarterback. Detroit paid him like an elite quarterback. But when you think about that Detroit system, this is where I disagree with you. There is some kind of enigma in Detroit. If it's the coaching, the system. You talked about the environment. You talked about the players. I'm talking about the guys on the sideline that are going to derail Stafford from having that big year that you think he's going to have. I'm against you on this one, buddy.
Well, look, we're gonna put a pin right here
Okay.
in this spot, just to come back to it next
Okay.
year when I say, yeah, Matt Stafford's
That's
gonna.
fine because
But
how old is Matt Stafford? He looks like he's getting up there a little bit.
he's getting up there a little bit. But here's the thing: is that last year he was on a pace for 582 attempts. He was on pace for 4,998 yards. He was on pace for 38 touchdowns. In 8 games, he threw 19 touchdowns. That
Okay.
defense is absolutely horrible.
I looked at his age, 32, not terrible.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's still got juice in the tank, and he's got Galladay, he's got Jones, he's got Swift, he's got T.J. Hawkinson as long as he stays healthy. T.J. Hawkinson is young and ready to run. Okay.
Hope he's got the shot callers with him too.
Yeah. So that was my number 2. My number 3 is coming back from injury, had basically a whole year off, and we're talking about Big Ben. Big Ben does nothing but chuck the ball, loves throwing the ball.
This guy looks like he's like 50 years old sometimes, like with that beard. He like never dies.
He shaves a beard. He's like me. Look, he shaved the beard.
Thank goodness. It feels like he has been in the league longer than anyone else, but he really hasn't.
Yeah, he feels like he's been longer than
Brady or any of those guys. But you really think he's going to come back and have a big year?
I think with Deontay Johnson, with Juju, even if James Conner stays healthy, I mean,
Juju's the real deal.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing: in Pittsburgh, they don't need a running game. They proved that when they let Le'Veon walk, they still were out there winning. I mean,
that's true. It's a big headache.
Yeah. Plus the fact that Big Ben, like I just said, does nothing but throw the ball. The guy loves chucking the ball, and he's a big, burly dude. You're not going to get him down. You're going to have to bring half the team. And when you bring half the team, you got 3 guys open downfield that he's going to find. Right. So, my last one, Drew Brees. Brees has the weapons. The Saints are poised for a Super Bowl run with the squad that they have right now. The defense is better than it's ever been before. Their offense, they just added your boy, Emmanuel Sanders, coming from San Fran. They're going to have a concentrated effort to go back to Alvin Kamara, and whether that be through the passing game or the run game, it's going to open up Brees. Brees is going to have those things. As long as he stays healthy.
He will. I mean, he only has freak injuries.
He will be a top 12 quarterback. And guys, let's face it. In this COVID world that we're living in, you name me one team besides the Saints that has the amount of continuity coming back and the level of talent that they have.
The biggest problem with old Breezy is, first of all, he is getting up there in age, so he's right behind Brady. And his arm strength is diminishing. The interceptions have been bad because he can't get that ball over the top sometimes. And he is a little guy. This could be an interesting year for Brees. I don't know if it's a big year for him. He's got the weapons, like you said. I don't know if they're making a Super Bowl run. Certainly they think they're built for it. They're going to come out of the division as the winner. And there's a lot of talented quarterbacks in the division, but I think the Saints are the best team in the division. But you have to look about where he is, because the last 2 or 3 years in Louisiana, and I covered this team, we've always been talking about Drew Brees' arm strength. Just hush, hush. Mm-hmm. It starts to get a little louder now, Dean.
Yeah, it's getting louder, and I'm seeing it, but you got Jameis Winston behind you. So, like I said on my bold predictions, I'm seeing Brees setting for at least 2 games. And even with that, you said about the arm strength. That's why you got Emmanuel Sanders to play the slot.
Right.
So, That's
No, that is true. That is
that's what
why.
saved that's what saved Tom Brady's arm all these years,
Well,
dumping it to Wes Welker, Julian Edelman.
well, and right, and he does have the right coach. His boy, Sean Payton, and who obviously made that Sanders move for
Yeah.
that specific reason. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So those are my quarterbacks. Let's get into running backs real quick. Of course, everyone knows CMC finished first. Everybody knows this. Number 2, Derrick Henry. Number 3, Aaron Jones. Number 4, Zeke. Then Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Awesome Eckler, Mark Ingram, Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley at 10, Joe Mixon at 11, and would you believe Todd Gurley finished 12th last year. Now, out of these guys, I will tell you right now, the top 7, CMC, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, and Eckler, I'm leaving in.
I agree.
All these guys are still in. They're still in top.
Not in love with Dalvin Cook, but I'm okay with the 7.
Yeah, as long as Dalvin Cook stays. And we know that Dalvin Cook is probably going to go down about week 14, right when you need him for the playoffs, okay? He has never. Interesting fact, if you're going to get Dalvin Cook, I'm telling you right now on this show, if I haven't said it before, if you haven't seen the mock drafts, go get Alexander Madison because you're going to need him for your playoffs. If you think that Dalvin Cook can get you, if you can hop on that horse and ride him all the way to the playoffs, he's going to slam on the brakes right on week 14. He's going to pull up, and you're going to get thrown off of that horse you've been riding. You better have a sidecar named Alexander Madison to hop in when Dalvin Cook slams on the brakes, because in 3 straight years, Dalvin Cook has never been to a fantasy football playoff.
That's a huge stat.
Yeah.
That is a huge key nugget of information to remember.
So, of the bottom 5 guys, only Saquon is going to be making this list again. So Mark Ingram, Chris Carson, Joe Mixon, and Todd Gurley, for me, are done for top 12. I'm not saying that these guys aren't draftable. But
because you really love Chris Carson.
I love me some Chris Carson, but if you're looking for that number 1 guy to get, and look, I'm moving Chris Carson down. If I get him in the 3rd round, great. But I'm not.
That environment, you just don't know how it's going to pan out.
No, you don't. Yeah. You don't. And especially with these rumors flying around about AB coming there.
Yeah.
I want to see where he goes. Wherever he goes, whoever the receivers are, you've got them for 8 weeks and you're done.
Right.
So Mark Ingram, Chris Carson, Joe Mixon, and Todd Gurley. What do you think about that list?
I like all those guys.
To be off this list?
No, on it.
To be on that list.
Yeah, on that list. I like the list.
So you're thinking that all these guys are gonna make it,
except Chris Carson. I'm worried about Chris Carson, just like you are with that situation.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. Here's my case for these 4.
I know Gurley with the knees.
And the fact that Atlanta's defense is not that great. They're going to need to throw the ball. They are not going to be able to rely on the run.
Right.
So the same way that a bad defense equals a great quarterback, a bad defense means a disappointing running back. Because what happens when you have a lead? You hand the ball off. Sheer volume will get your points for you. But when you're behind, you're not running the ball. You got to chuck it.
Right.
So that in and of itself is going to give way. And if you'll notice, there are a couple names on here. And after I'm done making my case, I'll give you the guys that I think are going to be on this list, which means that these 4 that I just named are going to have to be off of it. Joe Mixon, rookie quarterback. I don't need to say anything else but that, because he's going to be facing 8 in the box the entire first 4 weeks of the season, until Joe Burrow either proves that he is or isn't the quarterback of the future for the Bengals? Chris Carson, we just went over it with the injuries. We don't know about the injuries. Mark Ingram, they drafted J.K. Dobbins for a reason. You're not going to spend that high of a draft pick on a guy
That's right. That's right.
and not use him. Okay, so they're going to be splitting. J.K. Dobbins, better pass catcher than Mark Ingram. He's probably a better runner and definitely younger than Mark Ingram. He is the future. Mark Ingram's touches are going to decrease, and with the way that Lamar Jackson plays, that goal line give me touchdown that Mark Ingram could see every now and then, that along with Dobbins is gone. So here's the guys that I think are going to make this list, okay? Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake.
I know you love your KD.
And I got to put in Cam Akers.
Oh, Cammy, right.
Got to put in Cam. Now, if let's just say Dalvin Cook slides off of this list, look for David Johnson to jump on it. Okay, I see David Johnson as an outlier on sheer volume. Okay, I'm not saying that he's not getting older, that he's not. You should be targeting him early. You shouldn't. Okay, he's a high risk, high reward type player that you're going to take in like maybe the 5th or 6th round if he falls that far. Okay, but Josh Jacobs, second year with the Raiders, Miles Sanders. They got receivers dropping left and right and center in Philly. They're going to have to involve him in the passing game. Kenyon Drake, look, he's on the next Kansas City Chiefs team right here with Kyler Murray at quarterback, okay? Kyler Murray's doing the same thing that Pat Mahomes is doing. He just hadn't been doing it as long or maybe as well, but I think that he can get there. And I think that Kenyon Drake in the Cliff Kingsbury offense is a perfect fit. So what do you think about those guys?
I like those guys. Boy, it could be a big year for running backs.
It's going to be a
huge. A lot
year.
of talent there.
Look, yeah, I didn't even name Alvin Kamara on this list or James Conner.
Right.
So
and like my boy Ryan Mostert's going to make the list.
Yeah, Ryan.
Get 10 backs over there. Oh man.
Okay, so our next list, jump into wide receivers real quick, guys. Everybody knows Michael Thomas is up there. We know, what he can do and what he's done in the past. At number 2, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Cooper Kupp, Julio Jones, Devontae Parker, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, and Allen Robinson. Those are your top 12 wide receivers that finished last year top 12 in fantasy. So, now here's the thing that you might be asking, well, Dean, are these guys, are you doing standard? Are you doing PPR? What are you doing with these guys? And it's a good question because PPR and standard does kind of flip the script on some of these guys. I'll give you for instance. Mike Evans last year at PPR format, he finished 15th, not 8th. He finished 8th in standard scoring. A.J. Brown did not finish 10th. He finished 21st. Why? Because of his environment. Tennessee doesn't chuck the ball. They don't ask Ryan Tannehill to throw everywhere. They didn't ask Marcus Mariota to throw everywhere when he was playing. They lean on Derrick Henry. When you got a wrecking ball, you don't pull out a jackhammer to bring down the building.
Right.
Okay? Only reason that A.J. Brown is on the standard scoring list is because he did more with the opportunities that he got, and this is his second year. That's why I've got him still on this list for this coming year, okay? Allen Robinson, however, went from 12th to 8th on a PPR list. What does that tell you? That tells you that this guy gets volume. He's getting it from Mitch Trubisky, who probably had the worst year that he could ever have in the National Football League. And here's the good thing. If he has a bad start this year, you don't have to worry about him playing the whole year. They got Nick Foles. Come on, guys. I'm sorry, but Allen Robinson's the guy I'm beating the drum for here. Okay? Those are just three guys that fell off of this list. And the one guy that moved way up it, based on PPR or standard scoring, which is why I say it's always important to find out what kind of league you're playing in before you draft. Okay?
I agree.
So, who do you see that I hadn't named jumping on this list?
Ooh.
Is there a name that didn't really jump out to you?
Did D-Hop make the list?
D-Hop made the list. He's down at number 9. On PPR,
Okay.
he was number 5.
Okay. I was about to say, where is he?
I will tell you right now, when I got 6 guys falling off of this list, and when I go through my 6, you're going to be like, man, I should have seen that one.
Godwin's gone. Can you name that list again real quick?
Sure. Galladay, Godwin, Kupp, Julio, Devontae Parker, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, and Allen Robinson.
Mike Evans is gone. Godwin's gone. Those 2 at least right now are gone for me. Oh, Devontae Parker. Where is he? I don't think he's going to make the cut either. Scratch out Devontae Parker. So those 3 are gone for me.
Those are 3 of the 6 that I have too. Here's the other 3. Cooper Kupp.
Oh, Kupp. Yeah. I had Kupp him gone too. Go ahead.
Kupp's gone. Amari Cooper, because of the addition of C.D. Lamb.
Oh, I disagree, but go ahead.
Hey, it's a Cowboy. Of course you're going to disagree with me.
I like the Cowboys.
No, but you know how much I dislike Dallas. So
I know, but we're talking about fantasy here.
I know. And Keenan Allen. Guys, look, Keenan Allen is playing his first year without Phillip Rivers. He's got Tyrod as his quarterback or Jason Herbert. Do you really trust Keenan Allen to be anything else but a letdown?
You not like Tyrod Taylor?
Mr. Game Manager, Alex Smith 2.0?
He's not that bad, though.
He's a game
You
manager.
have to give him a little bit more credit. I'm not talking about as a fantasy football owner, but you got to give him a little bit more credit.
I'll tell you right now is that if you, gun to my head, if you were telling me that I had to pick one Charger receiver, it's going to be Mike Williams, not Keenan Allen.
Okay.
So I don't see Keenan Allen. Phillip Rivers made Keenan Allen what he is.
Speaking of Alex Smith, I don't mean to digress. You think he's going to see the field just as like some kind of memorial, or you think something to lift the fans or something?
They
fans won't be there, but to lift the team.
Yeah, they might run him out there like to run the first series in the first game.
Like a Rudy,
something like that.
Go ahead.
You're gonna have to have all the players come and drop their jerseys.
He's gonna be handing the ball off. He ain't throwing it, obviously.
Yeah. So, but here's the other guy is Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Devontae Parker, Cooper Kupp, and Chris Godwin. Those are my 6. Now here's the 6 guys that are going to replace them.
Okay, let's see.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
The number 3 fantasy wide receiver from 2 years ago, Devontae Adams.
You love DA. You love the Devontae Adams. I like Devontae too because he's got a great situation.
Juju.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Juju's making this list.
Juju's going to be the dude in Pittsburgh and he could be the dude in the NFL. really he has that chance to go in.
DK Metcalf.
Yeah, DK's got a good situation.
Okay. I think DK takes that next step and pole vaults over Tyler Lockett as Russell Wilson's favorite target.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin.
Don't say it. I knew you were going to say Terry.
Hey, look, I got to take a cowboy off and put my skins on. Okay. So come on. Terry's going to get on here, like I said before, on sheer volume. Sheer volume. He is the only option in Washington.
I don't like having headaches on Friday, but I have a headache on Friday because Terry McLaurin, he plays for the Washington football team, and he's supposed to be this unbelievable receiver.
Okay. Allen Robinson plays for the Bears, and he has a horrible quarterback. And he actually has a number 2 in Miller. Okay. Anthony Miller is actually his number 2.
Don't say horrible quarterback. Say a guy, he had a garbage year after he had a pretty good year. Your boy Haskins hasn't proved he can be the full-time guy. I mean, yes, he has showed glimpses of that. So you can't get ahead of yourself a little bit here, Dean. I don't want to get ahead of you. Okay. I don't like talking back to the Dean.
Okay. Hold on. Here we go.
A little bit today.
Okay. Let me see something because I'm looking this up here.
I know.
Okay. Last year, Mitch Trubisky had a QB rating of 83. The year before that was 95, and the year before that was 77. He threw about, about 35 more times last year than he did in 2018, and he played one more game. He had 12 interceptions. He was a 2-for-1 ratio in the year that he actually had his best quarterback rating. In 2018, he was a 1-for-1 in 2017, and he had a 17 touchdown to 10 interception ratio last year. That's not a guy I want. So I'm sorry, but like Terry McLaurin and the ceiling that Haskins has, Haskins is still yet to be proven. Right there, I'm not seeing anything about Trubisky that's making me comfortable, and yet Allen Robinson still produced. So if Allen Robinson,
there's going to be a quarterback change in Chicago.
Yeah, if Allen Robinson, well, I mean, hey, it's Nick Foles. Nick Foles is phenomenal off the bench. He's lousy as a starting quarterback, but you bring him off the bench.
He could elevate Chicago.
Yeah. So if Allen Robinson can do that, what he did last year with Trubisky playing the way he played, and Trubisky either has to improve or he's gone. This is his 4th year. This is a do or die situation. So we're going to see what he's made of this year. Terry McLaurin, 2nd year, he played with Haskins in college when he actually had that breakout year in college at Ohio State that got him into the NFL. So 1 more year, off season to prepare. Yes, it's been restricted, but Terry McLaurin makes this list next year. The next guy, DJ Shark. You got to love the mustache with Minshew and the connection that they had last year.
There's a big connection between those. So
that's a good Shark name. Was his guy.
It is a good name, and it's a name that's really kind of been sliding under the radar.
Yeah.
That has produced. So I could see that really kind of cracking through one of the 3 I dropped out of there.
Now, the last guy that I'm talking about here is a guy who, if you weren't automatically thinking this guy, as soon as I said it, you're going to turn around and kick yourself in the butt for not thinking about him. Calvin Ridley.
Right.
Ridley is going to make this list, guys.
I'm surprised he didn't crack it last year.
Okay, yeah, I was shocked when I went and I went deep diving just for my guys, just for you subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe, like, and share for me. Also follow us on Twitter at FantasyDean20. Okay. I've actually, if you look, guys, if y'all could flood Cam Akers, I sent him a message, send him the link to my bold predictions. I want him to know, got much love for him, much respect, and I'm putting him.
Now you're putting all that pressure on him.
Okay. Hey, he's already got the pressure. He already knows he's the man. I mean, come on. So, but yeah, Calvin Ridley. I mean, for Calvin Ridley to not be on the top 12 list from last year is just mind-boggling to me. So I think that, I think that he and Julio can both be on this list. We saw it in Pittsburgh with Juju and AB. I think that with the Atlanta defense being as bad as I think it's going to be, and it's his breakout year. This is his third year in with the same system. This is his breakout year. Okay, if you're going to have a wide receiver breakout, it's going to be their third year. This is it. Calvin Ridley's comfortable. He was drafted to replace Julio. He is basically a younger mirror image of Julio. Okay, big, tall, good route runner. Go up and get the ball. You just chuck it up to him, and it's done. Okay. Plus, he's scoring all the touchdowns.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I don't disagree with you, Ridley, because I dropped 3 out of the list, so I got him in there.
And I mean, for standard and PPR, he's down in the 20s. Which, why it is, I have no idea. DJ Shark is the closest, 16th in standard, 17th in PPR. So he's just got this much to be on that list. Now, guys, real quick, we're going to run through this. Tight ends, and here's the reason why we're making it quick, is because when you get down to a certain level, and we're going to say that in a minute, that certain level, it doesn't matter who you get. It just matters about their matchup and what their environment is. Okay? So, top 7 tight ends. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Darren Waller, Zach Ertz, Jared Cook, and Austin Hooper. Okay? So, here's the thing. Kelce is 30 years old. He's got the 4th hardest schedule for tight ends, but he's had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Look, everybody knows Kelce, Kittle, Andrews, those are your top 3. Those guys aren't leaving this list, okay? Kittle, the passing game runs through Kittle. Without Debo being in the lineup, he is not only their starting tight end, he's their number 1 wide receiver too.
Jimmy G loves to go to him.
Yeah.
And once you know that, how can you not? The guy's a bulldozer. You saw what he did in New Orleans?
Yeah.
That play alone just defines the guy that he is for your fantasy team, basically.
Now, Mark Andrews, he is the 2nd wide receiver in Baltimore behind Marquise Hollywood Brown, unless AB shows up in Baltimore. Okay? There's no other wide receiver that I can see in Baltimore that's going to out-grab Mark Andrews, okay? Darren Waller's a guy, I don't know what to make of him, and maybe you can help us out here. Is he for real? He's been in the league since 2015. He was with Baltimore. Baltimore let him go. They got Andrews and they got Hurst. Hurst is now in Atlanta. I think that Hurst makes this list and that Waller falls off. Waller has the 3rd hardest schedule for tight ends. Plus, do you really trust Gruden and Carr to be, bunk buddies? Because I really don't think that Gruden likes having Carr.
They're building up Waller to be something big in Las Vegas, and I say that because I have connections to the Raiders, and I do. It's from California.
That's why we have the professor on here for you guys.
I think Waller could have one of those defining years. I'm trying to figure out what is in Carr's head right now. what's Gruden going to feel? I feel like that kind of chemistry is just not going to build for the consistent season that you want out of Waller. I think Waller could do good things in certain weeks, but I'm with you. I got Hurst in Baltimore doing better than him cracking that list because I just don't think there's that consistency to take that risk to draft Waller, though there is a lot of hype surrounding what Waller could do in Vegas.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, is he for real? Is he not? I don't know, but he's being.
It's a hype train. It's a hype train.
Here's my thing: is he's being drafted as the fourth tight end off the board. He's being drafted ahead of Ertz.
Because they're liking what they're building in Las Vegas, though they still have.
And here's my thing about
Carr, they still have Gruden.
You got Henry Ruggs,
right?
And they brought in another wide receiver,
right?
A lot of draft capital in him.
Yeah.
So I mean, those targets that he had last year, they got to go somewhere.
We got to go somewhere.
So I mean, I don't see him being that George Kittle, Travis Kelce volume guy.
Right.
So I don't see how he maintains his dominance on this list. You've got Zach Ertz, Jared Cook, and Austin Hooper. Hooper's not going to see the targets in Cleveland that he saw in Atlanta with the Falcons. And the biggest reason for that is that David Njoku has walked back his request for a trade. So you got David Njoku, who's an absolutely phenomenal tight end in his own right, along with Austin Hooper, who they paid a ton of money to get. They paid this man at the time the most money of any other tight end in the league. Okay, so you don't pay somebody that much money and not use them.
Right.
And then you've got David Njoku, who, what do you do with him? Because you saw that he was extremely productive with you the years before. So I think that there's too many working pieces here.
Mm-hmm. Too many moving parts.
Yeah, and then here's my point about why tight ends are not that important. Tight ends are not that important to your fantasy league outside of the top three, because between number 8 and number 16, who is Hunter Henry, number 16 is Noah Fant, you've got a 24-point difference. That means that you have 3 games where you score a touchdown. And guess what? You can go from 16th up to 7th. Okay? It's that simple. 3 games out of 16 games. That's why it's so important to look at your matchups when you're streaming a tight end. If you don't go out and get one of the big 3, possibly the big 4, and I'm including Zach Ertz in that big 4, okay? And the only reason I'm including Zach Ertz is because Philly's wide receiver environment is garbage. They've got 2 guys. They got Deshaun Jackson, who you've got 3 good games out of Djax before he falls apart, and a rookie in Jalen Reagor. That's it.
I don't know. You love Reagor.
Oh, I'm loving me some Reagor, and that's a lot coming from a Washington fan. So, guys, look, I appreciate y'all coming in and stopping in with us. Chet, I always appreciate you, and I'm going to leave you guys with this. When you're looking at all this information, when you're out there searching the internet and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and wherever else, YouTube, like you are here, and I appreciate you. While you're looking at all this, I want you to realize that guys like Chet and I, we're just like you. We're going to be drafting in home leagues with average Joes. What's going to set us apart is the fact that we've done our homework. So your homework tonight, go back, rewatch the episode, rewatch my mistakes that you make that you don't want to make in the draft. Subscribe, like, and share for me, and take care of each other. Chet, I appreciate you coming on with us. Thank you very much. Guys, show some love to Keller's Bakery on Facebook for me. If you're in the Lafayette area, stop by Zia of Lafayette. Go down and say hi to Heath and Tucker and all the guys down there. As always, I've been the Dean. This has been Fantasy Football Academy 2020. Remember, if you're going out, mask up, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.